I'm Tom, and I'm the head gardener here at Gravetye Manor, and this is our wall garden, which we manage to produce fruit and vegetables, cut flowers and edible flowers for Gravetye Manor Hotel. So Gravetye Manor is a historic garden that was established by William Robinson, who was one of the most important gardeners of his generation. He only built one garden, and this is it, but he wrote over 70 books and completely changed gardening. He built this stunning landscape in the Sussex Weald with flower gardens and kitchen gardens and orchards and woodland gardens. We're particularly well known for the wild garden, which was first initiated in his book The Wild Garden in 1871. It's a real honour to be a head gardener of such an important and special garden, um, and it's a responsibility as well, because you're its custodian, and it's your responsibility to take care of it, develop it, and hopefully leave it in a better state than what you found it in. The wall garden at Gravetye Manor is fascinating. It's quite unique in its shape with this ellipse. Historically, it's very significant, being completed in 1900, making it one of the last great gardens of its genre. Of course, soon after that, the First World War and the Depression, the Second World War and food production had completely changed. William Robinson was a genius gardener, and he studied the site for 20 years before he built this. He moved the kitchen garden 3 times before he settled on this spot. We're halfway up the valley, so it works well with air drainage. The cold air falls down the valley, leaving the warm air trapped inside these elliptic walls. And then the air drainage works within this. Cold air falling down the south-facing slope, and the ellipse funnels the cold air into a tighter spot where we've got a small hole at the bottom that lets water out as well as cold air. It works like a frost gate. Yeah, the guests are particularly fascinated to see a wall garden running with integrity, that everything we grow is used in the manor, and everything they eat they can see grown here. Um, Whether it's the flowers used in the in the manner as cut flowers in floristry, or all of the ingredients that chef uses. And I think they're fascinated by our crop selection. We're really trying to find key ingredients that flavors that you can only get from a garden. There's so much work in growing these crops that we don't really want to grow things that taste the same if you buy them. So we're just looking for exceptional flavours unique to a garden for chef to showcase. Communication with the chef is really important to make this work, and we try our best to get the chef to lead, because we need to know exactly what he wants, so that we're very precise in growing the right volume and the right crop for the right time. And that's tricky, because if we produce too much, we create a glut, and that takes up a lot of chef's work. And if we don't produce enough, it won't fit on the menu. I'm fascinated by plants. I've spent my life working with plants. I wouldn't even see it work because it's a lifestyle, and there's always a group of plants that you're particularly excited about. At the moment, I love growing hepaticas. I'm fascinated by magnolias. One of my big regrets is not planting more magnolias 10 years ago. And I've just recently started collecting Dutch historic tulips, which we'll be using as cut flowers in here. And if it's food crops, I suppose one of my first loves is growing top fruit, apples and pears particularly. And we have about 50 varieties of apple. It's not a huge collection, but each apple has its purpose in the kitchen, and we grow them as restricted forms and in an orchard. But the main produce from that is making apple juice. I think there's so much to learn from every garden that you visit and to take home with you. I think one of the most important things is to always be looking at other gardens and always keeping an open mind, and seeing what little bits of knowledge you might be able to take home and apply. What people can learn from here, it's hard for me to say, really. Maybe crop selection and trying to make the most out of the space that you've got, to get the most out of it in the kitchen. Um, I like to think perhaps getting the most fun out of the ground you've got, because we really enjoy gardening here, and it needs to be fun. So hopefully people might take that away. If gardening's a chore for us, we get paid to do it, and it's our profession, and it doesn't really matter. Sometimes it might be a bit of a chore, but that's our job. But I think if you're doing it at home for a passion and for a hobby, then it's good to really assess the maximum enjoyment that you get out of it. So it's good to step back and ask yourself what's fun and what's a chore. And also sometimes things are a bit of a chore in the short term, but then the reward in the long term is huge. So investing that hard work for the rewards is important. And often horticulture's like that. A lot of work can be mundane, tedious, hard work, repetitive, grind in the short term, but in the long term, phenomenally rewarding. And that sums up horticulture, really. We don't restrict ourselves to heritage varieties at all. We want to grow what performs best and what tastes best. And I think that's closer to historic accuracy. If William Robinson had some of these modern varieties available in the 1880s, he would have used them. And so we're a heritage garden and we run it traditionally. However, we do use a lot of modern varieties and modern methods. So it's nothing stands still. A garden either goes backwards or forwards, so it's our job to try and keep it always moving forwards if we can. There's a whole family of local gardens that I visit regularly. Nyman's, Board Hill, Leonardslee, High Beeches, Wakehurst Place to an extent. They're all very local and they were deeply influenced by William Robinson, and every garden has its fascination, and I think it's important to always be looking, always talking to gardeners and always keeping an open mind.